Okay, so the thing I wanted to talk about, and we've talked about this a little bit off camera, is Space Force.
Okay.
It feels like when Space Force first became a thing, it was something that Donald Trump had created.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that there weren't agencies there. The Air Force took care of a lot of things, but as we move forward, I guess, and technology gets better and space gets easier to access and there's more things up there. I don't disagree with the fact that we should have more of a focus on what's going on. I mean, if you think about it, the way the Air Force started was originally there were just airplanes in the Army, and it was called the Air Corps inside the Army. And so then at a certain point, there were so much to do with airplanes and all of that. They branched off into their own department. So
Okay.
my question is what exactly does the Space Force do?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I feel like I ask people that, or they'll ask me that, because I'm kind of a space nerd. I watch all the space stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm very interested and excited about it.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting that you don't know because I thought it was a joke. I didn't realize this was a serious thing.
Well, no, it's not. I know some of what they do.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of what they do is classified, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But it's weird because I feel like it got some hate because Trump had created it, I guess. I don't know. Trump's got a very divisive president, and some people just don't like anything that he does.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought, well, isn't this just like what they did with the Air Force? It was going along, as the Air Corps, and then at a certain point, they were like, hey, we need to split this off. It needs more attention. It needs to be its own thing.
Okay.
And so then the Air Force was taking care of space, and then at some point, they were like, you know what? We need to spin this off and have its own thing so that we can give it the attention that it needs. So there is several things that I do know that they do. Number one, they track everything that's in space.
Okay.
First of all, we have humans in space. Other countries have humans in space. Just for a safety thing, we need to know where everything is going and moving so that things can move out of the way of each other so they don't hit each other.
Right.
Because that could cause a huge problem. The other piece is we don't know if another country is going to do something.
Oh, out in space.
Yeah. And so it's good to have our military paying attention to it. What's going on? What's doing what? We've had other countries' satellites, and I don't remember what year this was in. I don't think it was that many years ago, where they were talking about how another country's satellite had moved next to one of our spy satellites, and it had done some things. Like it opened up and a thing came out of it. And they basically, through diplomatic means, were like, whatever you're doing, stop doing it. And then they stopped doing it. But you need people watching.
Yeah.
But beyond the fact that, it's almost like a joke to go, what are they doing? They also have some other kind of odd things. So I put it up here on the screen. This is their website, which I'm not making fun of this.
Okay.
I think this is great. And I'm not making fun of them at all either, our servicemen and women. But my deal is that the way this just came about, I don't know, there's some weird questions. Okay, first of all, this is their logo right here. And this is the Starfleet Academy logo. And the BBC is making a good point here.
Yeah.
They're very, very similar. There is this part in the middle. There's also the triangle thing. The stars are on the outside. I mean, there's a lot of coincidences here, right?
Yes, there are two. Yeah, that's a lot.
And this one, I can kind of dismiss some of it with like, oh, well, there's the planet and there's star isn't in the inside. They call this part the delta, and here is a better shot of it, an updated version. Oh, now there is a star in the middle. And I'm just like,
okay, so
what are we doing?
So who's in charge of this design?
I don't know. I think this is a serious group of our military that is there for obvious or there for real reasons. I don't think what they do is something to laugh at. I think that they're doing a very important job, but a lot of it is kind of shrouded in mystery. But when your logo mimics sci-fi,
yeah.
it feels a little like, are we getting trolled?
Yeah, it sure does. Yeah. And sorry, I was like trying to read some of that because for a minute I thought that said like Space Force was first designed in 1961. So I was I was just like staring at that for a second and not the symbol, not the Delta symbol. I was like, wait a minute. This is gonna be a joke. Okay.
Well, and I should say, right across the top, it says Semper Supra, which is Latin for always above.
Yeah.
Sort of like Semper Fi
Yes.
is the Marines, which means always faithful.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, as far as the logo, I'm kind of like, what are we doing?
That's a little sketchy there. Why? Come on. Somebody who's on the design team knows what they did.
Okay, now the other thing I will say is, as far as our space abilities, you know, we're really, at this point, we're really kind of just around the planet. I mean, we've sent probes out to other planets and we've gone to the moon and we've done things like that. But for the most part, like 99.9% of our stuff is just in Earth orbit.
Yeah.
And so if you are an astronomer, like a you know, an amateur astronomer, or why can't I say that word?
Yeah. Astronomer.
An amateur astronomer. You get a decent telescope, you put it in the backyard, you can look up. It's kind of hard to hide things
Yeah.
in space
Yeah.
because you can just look up at it. So there's some classified things that are classified, but they're known, like because you can look up at it. But now, what is the everything that it's doing? I don't know. But I got a video for us here.
Okay.
What's the purpose of the Space Force's secret space plane? Spying is part of the business, right? The X-37 came to life in 1999 as a collaboration between NASA and Boeing. This shuttle-derived vehicle is about 1/4 the size of the STS Orbiter or shuttle and is designed to operate autonomously. No people on board. Years after its introduction, the X-37 was split into two versions. X-37A for NASA and DARPA, and X-37B is for the Space Force. The project has been classified. Some suggest it was used to spy on the Chinese Tiangong-1 station, while others think it was designed to test sci-fi technologies like orbital lasers. According to the Space Force, X-37B has been used to test harnessing and transmitting solar energy to Earth and study prolonged space exposure on organic materials. Sure, and now you know.
Okay, so my point is they have this space plane. They've had it for a long time. They've definitely put it in orbit many times, and I think the longest time it was up there for like 2.5 years or something like that.
Yeah.
We know that, well, at least they claim there's no one on board because it's you can see people walk next to it. It's not that big when it's on the ground. We've never seen it on the ground with its doors open. It's like cargo bay doors open. Although there are plenty of like amateur astronomers who have taken photographs of it in space, and you can clearly see the doors open, and you can clearly see some objects hanging out of it.
Okay.
One of them is like what they showed in the video. It's like a big solar power panel, and the other one's like a cylinder thing.
Yeah.
I mean, what is that?
Yeah. So totally classified. So none of that information is coming out.
No, and people, you know, will sit there and watch NASA, you know, just sit on public land and just take pictures. And when the thing lands, we've noticed, or the space community has noticed, that the engine on the back of the thing has changed several times.
Okay.
So they think that they're testing special engines in space. For what reason? I don't know. Some people are saying, they're testing weapons. They've never said that.
Yeah.
Although the thing they were saying just a minute ago with harnessing solar power and then transmitting it down to the surface, that's not like wireless, like
Yeah.
energy transfer. I mean, the only way I could think that you could do that, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe somebody can correct me in the comments, but you would collect the energy from a solar power panel, and then you would maybe use something like a laser to heat something up on the planet, and then you could use whatever you heated up on the planet to produce
Yeah. So,
electricity.
Right.
So therefore, you are transferring solar power from space down to the planet. But isn't that just a big laser weapon in the
yeah.
sky?
Yeah. Yeah. Essentially, yes.
I mean, it's like the Air Force coming out with a cargo plane, and they're just like, we're going to use it for disaster relief, and then later on they go, we also sometimes drops bombs from it. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, they're both true, but
Yeah.
let's not sugarcoat the other side of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no idea what they're doing. I find the whole thing very interesting. I wish I knew more. I understand the need for secrecy. I think the logo is a little funny.
Yes.
George
I agree.
Sakai from Star Trek.
Yeah.
When he originally saw it, he goes, "I hope we're all getting royalties for this."
Yeah. Yeah. That's appropriate.
Yeah. So I don't know. Have you heard anything?
No, I'm sorry, I haven't. And like I said, I thought that Space Force was like a joke. I didn't realize it was a real organization that's actually
yeah.
doing things.
It's a real thing.
you know. And I don't know. Now I have so many questions because like Space Force was, Trump's idea. Is that, or like was it already kind of a
I think it had been talked about before, but he is the one that approved it.
okay?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Just interesting.
And I will tell you that, if you watch space launches, there are missions done by non-military personnel. Let's say like a lot of our stuff being lifted into space right now is being lifted there by SpaceX. So SpaceX will say, "Oh, well, we're doing a launch at this Space Force launch site, and." We can't tell you anything about the package, but we can show you the rocket going up. And they show it to you.
Yeah,
But if you watch them do commercial stuff, they'll show you them release the satellites into space. But when the rocket gets out of sight, they go, well, that's all we're going to be able to
Yeah.
show you today because this is a classified mission from
Right.
Space Force.
yeah,
And I'm just like, huh.
yeah. I don't know. Questions.
It's interesting though,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, sure is.